Hello and welcome to Little Language Models. I'm Delfina Hoja and this is Fiona from Shrek. I don't know if you've seen Shrek, but it's one of my favorite movies. And one of my favorite scenes from the movie, it's with Shrek and the donkey, when the donkey just keeps talking and asking the same questions. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And Shrek understandably gets a little bit annoyed by this behavior. And that's related to what we're going to be talking about today, which is getting the same questions over and over by your customers and how that relates to one of the main reasons that clients reach out to me to work with me, which is increasing staff efficiencies. This desire for more scalable experiences from clients usually manifests because of a few issues that they have encountered. So the first one is what I just mentioned, with staff having to answer the same questions over and over again to customers. The second issue is that content management, so publishing new content, whether on a website or updating UX copy within an app, takes a long time, a longer time than the client feels like it should. And the team also has expressed some unsatisfaction with the way that the current content management process works, the tools included, and just the workflow, needing to edit multiple instances of the same content turns into a laborious and long process, and the team feels like it could be helped and simplified in a way. Another issue related to this desire to increase organizational efficiency is that there is no current one single source of truth on the client side. So there is no what is called like a shared terminology or shared business glossary with the most common terms used by the people on the team. So there's this perception of like needing to reinvent the wheel from employees and other staff members, whether it's like from the design team, the engineering team, the customer service team, the marketing team. And this business glossary that's like shared across teams and works as a shared vocabulary does not exist, or exists, but it's not really used, and people have a lot of feelings about how it can be improved and shared more widely and used more widely across the company. When done right, information architecture work, so the work that I do at Little Language Models, can help increase organizational efficiency and reduce customer service costs, as well as increase customer satisfaction, since customers are getting to the answers that they need faster. So how do we solve these issues with information architecture? So one of the first things that I mentioned, with having the same questions received by staff members over and over, and them having to answer customer inquiries even though they are already answered on the website or on the knowledge base of the product. So this is where information architecture comes in, and specifically the research component of it. So talking to users, reviewing the analytics, and understanding what is the issue that is not allowing the customers to find the information that they're looking for. So sometimes that information is hidden way down below the page, so customers are not even getting to it. Sometimes it uses ambiguous terminology, so they're not even sure that the information they're looking for is in that specific section or under that specific keyword, because it's not clear to them. And then this is where research comes in, and you can address some of these concerns with the new designs and the new structures of the pages to make sure that the key information is easier to find. One of the tactical examples of that was in a client project where some of the key information related to costs was, and the duration of the engagement was hidden under details. So the users, which were students in this case, were not really understanding that details is where this very important information about them, about the duration of the engagement, and as well as the cost associated with it, were hidden under the details section. So they were not thinking to look for it there, which is understandable. And so after changing the section name to something clearer, students were able to find it more quickly. And what about the second issue, content management taking a long time? So there are kind of two different ways that I would tackle this through information architecture. So the first one is specifically about the edits needing to be made to the various instances where the content exists when the information is updated. So this can be helped with content modeling or structured content, or yes, there are at least three terms for this. Backend information architecture, which is the practice of structuring the technical content structure of a platform, usually in a diagram that depicts the various content types and their relationships within the platform, and this is done to facilitate discovery and increase content scalability. So this is one way that information architecture can help with the issue identified earlier related to organizational efficiency. So with structured content, you kind of like have the same instance and it can be reused across components or pages, and the staff does not need to go in and edit manually in every instance. Another part, so the second part of the work related to information architecture and the second issue that clients will usually identify when they come to work with me, which is the part about content management taking a little bit longer or being a little bit more difficult than it needs to be, is doing content management system information architecture. So content management systems are what a lot of publishers and companies will use to publish their content on websites, and WordPress is one of the most commonly known and most used ones. And I remember that I worked on a project where the client had 52 editors. So 52 editors were in charge of updating, scheduling, posting, maintaining the content. So as you can imagine, with 52 different people being involved in the content management system, even small improvements would really help with making the content scalable, and then having these rules of governance and structured flows within the actual CMS or content management system would really help the client and their staff to make sure that everything was being published on time. Investing in a well-structured information architecture for your CMS helps with organizational efficiency because it improves the authoring experience for content managers on the platform. It streamlines publishing and editing processes, and it reduces onboarding time for new employees. It also helps having one standardized governance and content publishing process that everyone is on board with. It helps with consistency, just like the content modeling aspect also helps with consistency, which they ultimately help with the trustworthiness of your brand, since customers are seeing up-to-date and relevant information whenever they are interacting with your product. And then finally, the third issue that I mentioned, with companies not having one single source of truth for their content and their terminology, as you might imagine. So this is solved by creating that shared single source of truth, which can be done as in a knowledge base, an internal knowledge base for the company, or a content design system that all of the different components of the teams, like engineering, design, marketing, research, content, and other relevant team members can have access and can have a say in what goes into the system, and making it as helpful as possible to whoever is using it. I have two written resources that I add to the caption of this video, one with a content model template that you might use on your own to get started, and I also have a longer resource that I've written about how to build a terminology glossary and do's and don'ts about that process. And it starts with a documentation hackathon, which is a pretty cool process, I would say. So you can check it out in the caption of this video. And thank you for watching. See you next time.